On the 15th of April 1989, 54,000 fans of Liverpool and Nottingham Forest attended a football match at Hillsborough Stadium, Sheffield. 96 of those Liverpool fans never returned. The families of these 96 people, male and female, young and old, spent 27 years seeking the truth behind why their loved ones died, unsatisfied by the reasons they were given by a succession of governments, both Labour and Conservative. On Tuesday, April 26, 2016, after a 2-year inquest, it was determined that these fans were all killed unlawfully and their deaths could and should have been prevented. Liverpool fans did not cause these deaths of their fellow fans that dark day back in 1989. Those 96 souls can rest easy, at least. Neil and I would like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the families of those who lost their lives watching a football match a generation ago. Their commitment to the pursuit of truth and justice has been an inspiration to all on Merseyside and anyone affected by the Hillsborough disaster. All that evil requires to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Their families refuse to do nothing, and justice has won the day. They will never walk alone. Hello Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mainz and Dutts. I'm your host Mainz, and my colleague who swears blind he doesn't bribe anyone on the Gridiron Show, it's Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Would I spend money to bribe people?
Would you spend money so people say on a successful podcast, one of the most successful American sports podcasts in the UK, one of the UK's best writers, you're damn skippy, you'd spend money to get people to say that?
I just give the public what they want.
But, you talk about those 15 websites that you're a part of and make no mention of this podcast whatsoever. And as for you, Will Gavin, I expect better of both calling him that and not mentioning the podcast.
And of saying you like Mars bars.
That Mars bar thing cannot be underestimated, how much he fell down in my estimations at that point. A conversation about how good vanilla ice cream is and Mars bars. Will Gavin, you're better than that. You're better. Done. No guest this week. It's unbelievable after the litany of guests you had last week, as I was stuck on the A14 somewhere by Cambridge Services.
You didn't enjoy it.
I got to listen to the derby on the radio, so there was some enjoyment given. Normal show this week, we're going to do standard Weird World stuff. We're then going to talk some NFL, as there's been some seriously big news related to our two favourite teams, and we want to get your thoughts and my thoughts on that. And then Dutton, with the death of Prince late last week, I found some interesting things about what songs he wrote that he didn't sing. Based on that, I want to have a discussion about other songs that people have written that you didn't know they wrote. But seriously, Dutton, let's just get on with the show.
Do it.
Dutton, it's everybody's favourite part of the show. It's where you scour the internet, and when I say we scour the internet, I mean me, to find a number of hilarious stories related to the weird world that we live in. And I'm not talking about the amount of points that Donald Trump keeps on winning Republican primaries by. We're talking about funny stuff.
Speaking of weird things and weird world, have you seen? It's probably been changed by now. The Leicester City Wikipedia entry for the earlier today.
No, I didn't see that. No, go on, enlighten me.
Bear with me just a second while I pull it up. It tickled me greatly. Leicester City is a 2016 British fantasy film directed by Claudio Ranieri and set in Leicester. It stars footballer Lionel Messi as Jamie Vardy, who embarks on a mission to win the Premier League title with Leicester City in 2015-16. The film has been lambasted by critics who labelled it as an utterly preposterous idea and was deemed so unrealistic it makes Lord of the Rings look like a documentary.
Bravo to the Wikipedia editor there. Bravo to you, and let's hope that Wikipedia take the joke as it's intended and allow it to exist for more than like half an hour. So Dutton, we use the internet a lot, or we use our phones a lot. Agree?
Delete our histories a lot.
No comment on deletion of history. But what if you had a choice between the internet and chopping off your finger, which would you do?
What's on the internet?
The internet's free for you to watch at whatever point you wish. Whatever sick, twisted website he's looking at. Ladies and gents, he's looking at his fingers through the medium of Skype. This is a podcast, Neil.
Which one?
Okay. 31% of people in America stated that they would rather chop off their finger than lose the internet. That is an unbelievable number of people, surely.
That is very high. I mean,
one
obviously
in three people. So basically, if me, you and Tony are in a room, one of us is chopping our finger off. If me, you and Simons are in a room, one of us is chopping our finger off. In both of those situations, it's going to be you.
Yeah.
You've been either picked on or the chosen one, or you decided to do it yourself.
See, it doesn't say. I mean, which finger are we talking? I mean, thumb and forefinger, no. Ring finger, yeah, I could say, yeah, that could go.
Say we take your pinky finger on your left hand. You're just happy to lose that bad boy because it's just an inconvenience anyway.
Doing it? I mean, seriously, I mean, I'm again, for the purposes of those listening, I'm now just walking around my kitchen trying to find something to grab with my left pinky. Yeah, left pinky, yeah, but any of these bad boys or anything I can swear with, no.
Any of the money makers, they're there to stay. As long as you can still type for your 57 websites, don't you? You'll be all right. I think that's what we're kind of saying on the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not losing no digits. I'm anti-pain, and I'm sure I'll live without the internet. I'm not sure how, but I'm sure I will.
I doubt that very much. You lose your hand.
Yeah, probably. Next story, Dutton. How much do you hate the mayor or your local town councillor?
Hate's such a hard word because I've no idea who he is.
Yeah. Imagine you were in Colorado and you got a new mayor, and as the police department, you all quit simultaneously. That's because the entire police department of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, flat out resigned.
Okay.
So Police Marshal, it's only a small town, Dutton, so let's not get crazy here. But Police Marshal Tim Brady and 3 part-time volunteer reserve officers quit en masse. Don't know if you can have en masse as 4, but anyway.
Yeah.
On April 14th. Quartet withdrew their services over policy and unhappiness with Jane Newbury, the newly elected mayor.
Had he previously been in charge of internal affairs and investigating them all for, like, corruption?
Jane, it's a woman.
Even more so, had she previously been in internal affairs and investigating them all?
You think internal affairs, and I think you've all slept with this woman before, haven't you? And she doesn't like you anymore.
I like the movie angle of mine better. You know, this internal affairs cop gets made mayor, and then all the policemen leave, so she has to enlist local residents. Hilarity ensues.
There's one of them like, what? Who's starring? Is this? Are we
this
talking?
Kevin James.
Are we talking Kevin James here, or see? This can go two ways. This film, right? It's either starring Kevin James and Adam Sandler, or it's The Rock and Jason Statham. And like, what we don't know is underground. There's like a biker gang who sell crack for the rest of America, and now The Rock, who's just happily living his life as a former US Marine, and Jason Statham, former MMA fighter, both now have to save the day to stop the biker gang taking over.
I like the idea of the biker gang, but I'd still rather have Kevin James and Adam Sandler fighting them.
Okay, I see. This is why me and Dutton do shows together and not individually, because you can bounce ideas off each other. Many a day was spent in our former employment many years ago in Odeon Cinemas coming up with outrageous films which we were going to make and never have, and now we just talk on podcast instead.
Yeah, never have yet.
Never have yet, of course, Dutton. There's never say never.
Exactly.
Final story, Dutton. Mayor accused of stealing 111 road signs. Apparently, Dutton, no one saw the signs. A mayor in upstate New York is facing criminal charges for allegedly stealing 111 road signs from the state's Department of Transportation. New York State Police arrested Frank Morocco. Yeah, that's right. Monday on charges of misconduct and petty larceny. Morocco, 60, has served as mayor of Frankfurt Village since 2004 and has worked as the sign shop foreman for the state's Department of Transportation since 2001. That is like, ooh, coincidence? I think not. Police started investigating Morocco in July 2015 after getting a tip from someone in town. They said that he took 111 road signs made at the shop and gave them to the Village of Frankfurt Street Department. So basically, he was stealing from the rich owners of signs to give them to the poor, underprivileged, lack of signs town they lived in. He's like a modern day Robin Hood, Dutton.
I mean, he's actually been having counselling sessions for kleptomania, and he's very pleased to announce that he's taken something from every session.
Ray, we're all week. Try the veal. Dutton, as always, we love Weird World. We'd love you to send us your Weird World stories over. Send them either to Dutton at ndutton13, to me at Mainzy7, or tweet us both at the hilarious podcast of at waxing_lyrical. The underscore is not that confusing, even though it does confuse Dutton.
Can I just say, just before we move on, this is probably for the benefit of your better half than anyone. I don't know if you can see this again, the audio visual element. I'm holding up a copy of Take a Break magazine. And if you'd like to, can you read the story where my finger is?
Bottom right hand corner, connect with unicorns.
Discover their message for you.
Your fiance is better than that magazine. Please remind her of that when she comes back down.
Yeah, the message the unicorns have for you is, we're not real.
You can tell Kate that I'm going to move swiftly on to the NFL, Dutton.
Okay.
So, Dutton, the NFL has a big week coming up. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 7 rounds of the NFL draft. But we're not the greatest draft experts. Well, me especially. Dutton's writing about Dak Prescott for the Fancy Greek. Excellent article. I recommend everyone reads it. But there's 2 major stories in the NFL which have implications for the draft, but also have implications for both of our teams in the NFC East. The major story really is Dutton's Philadelphia Eagles, who did an RG3 and drafted and gave away a lot of picks in the future to draft a quarterback as the second pick in the NFL draft. Let's just put it out there, Dutton. First things first, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are, as you'd expect, it's one of those trades that can't really be judged now because the price has been paid to draft a franchise quarterback. If you find that franchise quarterback, it was a bargain. If you don't, you've lost your job. I guess
it looks like it's going to be Carson Wentz, Dutton. There's 2, I suppose, concerns, flags, on Wentz. I know Mike Mayock called him the second coming of Andrew Luck. Not saying that he's wrong or anything, but he's never beat anybody in any major college game, and he's actually only had 20 college starts. Is this concerning to you and the people of Philadelphia who you've spoken to, who I assume have asked?
It'd be concerning to me if I genuinely thought Carson Wentz was being drafted to play this year, but as I spoke to you the other day, in an ideal world, Carson Wentz doesn't even suit up in 2016. He is the future franchise quarterback, but he is not the quarterback in 2016. That was the scenario envisaged by Howie Roseman. Howie, I can tell a great ad lib one-liner, just give me 3 weeks' notice. Roseman, Doug Peterson, and Jeffrey Lurie.
Dutton, you are my best man at my wedding coming up in September of 2017. Your jokes fall as flat as Howie Roseman's. We are in serious bother.
Oh yeah, I'm in trouble. So I am thinking of asking him to stand down as my gag man.
So you say you don't want him to start this year, and I understand that. That makes sense to me. There's a fatal flaw in that plan. The fatal flaw arose yesterday when Sam Bradford decided that he was going to throw his proverbial toys out the pram, and ask for a trade. The question I have is, should Philadelphia fans care that Bradford wants to trade for two reasons? Don't care if you want to trade, you're playing for us anyway, or don't care if you want to trade because we've got two quarterbacks anyway?
Well, I mean, he did try and throw his toys out the pram, but unfortunately nowhere was open, so he dumped them off.
Hey.
Sam Bradford has made an obscene amount of money in his NFL career.
$78 million.
$78 million, but I would wager that he's probably had more excuses made for him than dollars. This is the first time he has ever been in a position where he's going to be challenged for his team's quarterback spot. Let's look at some of the backup quarterbacks he's had, shall we? Kellen Clemens. No. I could stop there. Mark Sanchez. No. Sean Hill. No. These people were brought to sit behind Sam Bradford. This is the first time that a team has said, Sam, yeah, we want you this season, but we are not looking at you in seasons beyond. So the two ways to go. This is the I'll show you. May play so well that next year the Eagles can trade him for value that they can use, or he can sulk and say, I want to go somewhere where I know I'm going to be the man. Well, so you want to go somewhere else where you won't be challenged. Ultimately, the Eagles fan base, well, put this way right now, as we stand now, in my opinion, there is no way back for Sam Bradford with the Eagles because the fan base hate him. The same fan base that booed McNabb, the same fan base that booed Santa and threw, snowballs and booed kids at Easter egg hunts. Congratulations, Sam. You're hated. I don't think there's any way back for you. The question now is, do the Eagles now say, well, we're going to have to write 2016 off because we don't think Chase Daniel can get us far enough without having to throw the rookie in?
I just like to throw some stats at Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford, who thinks he should be a starter in the NFL. He's made $78 million in his career. That's $1 million per touchdown pass. His career record is 25, 37 and 1. That means for every win, he $3 million per win. He is not very good at football. He was the first round draft pick. He got injured. He was in a rubbish team in St. Louis that had no insight into offense whatsoever. He thought he hit the jackpot with Chip Kelly. We thought he had as well in a 5-minute stretch against the Green Bay Packers reserves in a pre-season game. At the end of the day, he at best flattered to deceive last season. At worst, he wasn't very good. The Eagles should never have given him this amount of money anyway. This is an Eagles issue in terms of money, if you care. Some people don't, that's fine. I mean, if they traded him, they're on the hook for $24 million. Let's think about that. If the Eagles traded, they owe Sam Bradford $24 million. Who signs that off? Why does Jeffrey Lurie accept that? The question you've got that Jeffrey Lurie will have asked Howie Roseman is, like, how did we get into this situation in the first place? You signed Sam Bradford, you signed Chase Daniel, and then you've got us another quarterback. How have you allowed this situation to occur, Howie? Sign one of them. That's fine, but don't sign. You're basically going to spend $80 million on 3 quarterbacks this season, or in the lifetime of their contract. That's a lot of money. And I'm not saying that the Eagles are not a talented team. They are, and maybe they're 1 player away, 2 players away from being in the playoffs this year. But guess what? Those 1 or 2 players don't exist anymore because you're now putting your number 1 pick on the bench. Oh, by the way, do you think that'll go down well in Philadelphia? Absolutely not. First bad throw by Bradford, get him off. First bad throw by Daniel, get him off.
The thing is as well, there's actually a worrying pattern of the Eagles of needlessly overloading themselves at a position and paying too much money for it. I refer last season to the Eagles signing Ryan Matthews and then signing DeMarco Murray and then always saying, sorry, we'll still sign you, Ryan. So it's a worrying trend. That was another regime, of course. That was Chip Kelly, coach and GM, with Howie just sitting in the back, whittling. But ultimately, maybe they just thought, look, we can win this year with Sam. Sam's going to get paid. He'll bridge until Carson's ready, and he'll be fine doing this. They misread Sam Bradford, because Bradford's now putting out this argument that he doesn't want to fight for his place. So now not only has he got a fan base that doesn't like him, he's got teammates that are going to think he's bailing on them because he's trying to rat out of a contract he signed 2 months ago. And potentially, I know there's other teams, a lot of teams who've already got a quarterback, so it won't suit them. There are 31 locker rooms out there now looking at what you are doing. You're not winning any friends in those either.
I just don't understand it. I don't understand the logic, especially as I haven't seen Carson Wentz, and he could be amazing, and he could be Andrew Luck, and that's fine. But you had the exact same opportunity to do this last year for what I would describe as a proven commodity in Marcus Mariota, and didn't do it. I don't know what the difference is this year.
I did read an article that said the Eagles are the most dysfunctional franchise in the NFL, and so I immediately sent a tweet sending commiserations to the Cleveland Browns because I didn't know they'd gone out of business.
True. It's not that bad, Dalton. It's just strange to me. It's not criminal, and they've still got a decent team, and I understand, as you said, if we're going to win the Super Bowl, we need a franchise quarterback. Maybe you thought this was their opportunity. I just wonder why that opportunity wasn't last year.
Oh, I agree, and I certainly think there's someone who's currently, living in an apartment in the Bay Area who's certainly asking that question as well.
Of course, Don. So let's move on to the other team in the NFC East who made news, and that is my Washington professional football team, Don. They somehow managed to sign Josh Norman, shut down corner, and overall weird cat but cool dude from the Carolina Panthers. So, the first things first is, how does this happen?
Dan Snyder got out the cupboard.
So Dutton's already stole the third question in this part. How does Carolina just think, I'm not going to pay the franchise for a year, even though we'd already agreed we're going to? What is there something they're going to do with that money? Does Dave Gettleman get to keep any money under the cap? I'm not 100% sure why you cut Norman at that point.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, Ron Rivera's defence, his philosophy, and Sean McDermott's as well, is you build your defence from the front back. So you have your pass rush, you have your strong linebacker core, which they've got obviously in Thomas Davis, Luke Kuechly, and other people at the front. They've got Star from Utah and K1 Short. Now they're going to exercise Latule's fifth-year option. They're going to have to extend Short. So now they've got $31 million in cap space to do that. Josh Norman had a very good year, don't get me wrong, one of the best cornerbacks around. Fell off a bit towards the end. If Odell Beckham was disciplined and didn't drop passes, he'd have torn him a new one in the game against the Giants, because he was doing. Josh Norman's had one good season now. Josh Norman's 29 years old. This isn't someone in the third year. This isn't a 25-year-old kid. This is someone who you think you should have strung. I'm all for, potential means you just haven't done it yet, or maybe it means you haven't got it. Maybe Josh Norman's last year was his peak. Maybe he's hitting his peak. I don't know. I just think that the Panthers were thinking we can plug in no marks, because they have done. You look at their whole secondary. Kurt Coleman, great pro, wonderful trooper. Never ever did anything wrong for the Eagles, but he's not a superstar. But he played like one last year, and so I just think their mentality is as long as we can get to the quarterback up front, it doesn't matter who's covering the receivers, because they're going to have to come back to get the ball because the quarterback's got 2 seconds to get it out.
I understand that. I understand that thought process in February. I don't understand that thought process in late April, because you've already done that. You've already agreed to do that. I know you're going to pay Short et al., but you don't need to do that till next year, so you don't need the cap space till next year. It confuses me, but whatever.
I did see one thing, though. It was a quote that Gettleman said that Norman's agent was a reflection of him, or a reflection on him. So maybe the agent had started putting around things like, look, we get this sorted, or he's not coming to camp. Possibly,
I don't know. But I think final question on this is, as you mentioned, this strikes fear into the heart of the Washington semi-professional football fans, as it reeks of previous regimes, although with the same owner, where you just went out and got the shiniest thing you can.
There's Bruce Smith.
Yeah. There's two things I need to say. There's two things I'd say about that. They had the money to be able to do this. Unlike maybe the Gettman approach, McLuhan does need corners who can cover in his scheme, much like they did in Seattle. So I understand the first jump and you go, 78 million or 50 million guaranteed. It's a 2-year deal. It's a lot of money. Do I expect him to be the middle of the third season? Absolutely not. I don't. But do I think that gives them an opportunity to get some young corners in the draft, like Browns, develop them and get them playing by that point? Well, yeah, I actually do.
I mean, he's come to the right division, because also you can pretty much say with a high degree of certainty that as of now, without taking a meaningful snap for the Washington professional team, Josh Norman's the best cornerback in the NFC East. He is.
He's going to have a tough time early doors, especially with Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham and Des Bryant in his first 4 weeks. But we'll see how it goes, Don. We will see how it goes.
If you're never in over your head, you never know how tall you are.
Correct, Neil, correct. So, Don, as we mentioned at the start of the show, and I was listening to a podcast, I'm just going to digress slightly. Is it weird that we tell people what's going to be at the show at the start of the show when they've already downloaded the podcast, and on the podcast I've written what the show's going to be about?
Well, it probably is, but they miss out. It's one of those. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon on page 60 of the script for Good Will Hunting put a male sex scene in it. It was never going to be in the film. They just wanted to see which executives were actually reading the whole script.
I like it, Don. Good idea. Although I'm not sure I would have wanted that in Good Will Hunting. So, as we mentioned before, Don, end of last week, Prince died. Massive blow to the music industry. I'm not the biggest Prince fan in the world. Had some really good songs. Was not aware that really of his later work, as in anything in the past 15 years. Although he was still prolific. But what I was shocked by, and what I didn't know, is that Prince wrote a lot of songs that you recognise today that you didn't know were for him. And I would like to first of all let you listen to a couple, Dutton. Can you tell me this one? Just slow build up.
It's been 7 hours and 50 days.
That's right, Dutton. Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You. Written by Prince. How does Sinead O'Connor and Prince meet? That's my question.
I don't know, but also, who says hours before days when registering time?
Prince, obviously. First of all, I originally thought it was Sinead O'Connor. It's obviously not. Next one, Dutton. It's Shaka Khan, I Feel For You.
Shaka Khan, was it?
Yeah, because you're not tell that was Shaka Khan. I get that comparison. What was the next one?
That does sound like a Prince song, though, to be fair. If you actually listen the whole way through, you can almost imagine Prince singing.
That's what I thought as well. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. That there's no way that wasn't one of theirs, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right, let's see if we can... And then, next one, Dutton. That's right, Dutton. The Bangles' Manic Monday, also written by Prince. I know the story to this. He wanted to sleep with one of the girls, the main singer.
Susanna Hoffs.
That's her, yeah. So he wrote a song for her, and that was Manic Monday. and that made them lots and lots of money.
Just on similar things, I mean, I did some research myself on songs by other people. The Lady Gaga and Beyonce song, Telephone, was originally written by Lady Gaga in her former guise as a songwriter for Britney Spears, but she turned it down.
This is amazing. This is amazing, balls. We're on fire here. Okay, so they're the Prince ones, but there's other ones that I was interested in that I wanted to share with the world to find out if they knew or were enlightened by this whole situation. Okay. Here we go, Dalton, you ready? Obviously, Forget You by CeeLo Green. Written by everyone's favourite Hawaiian and lover of Super Bowl halftime shows, Mr. Bruno Mars. Again, you can hear him singing it. If you know what I mean, you can transpose and you could actually hear it happening. Okay, Dalton, going back in time a little one on this one. Let's see if we can get it.
Another day has gone. I'm still all alone. How could this be?
The now infamous "You Are Not Alone" Michael Jackson, in that hideous video with him and Lisa Marie Presley. That song was written by everyone's... I can't say that. I actually can't say what I was about to say. I was literally about to say that's by R. Kelly, who... Again, it sounds like "I Believe I Can Fly" when you think about it. But like, you thought that Jacko wrote a lot of his own stuff, but obviously that one not in the, or he was part of the story anyway. This one obviously not, and that one was written solely by R. Kelly. Must not think about him trying to marry a 14-year-old and saying bad things. Okay, next. See, now I've got kids, you see, so they like One Direction. That's best song ever. And that was sorry. How apt, yeah. That was written by everyone's favourite ginger, Mr. Ed Sheeran. Well, everyone's second favourite ginger behind me, obviously, and that was Mr. Ed Sheeran. Rupert Grint, yeah. Everyone's favourite Harry Potter character, Rupert Grint. That doesn't sound like an Ed Sheeran song, doesn't it? I think Ed Sheeran's a bit of a chameleon, though. I think he is able to sound different. I think most of his songs are different. So if that, I wouldn't, that's one of those someone that's like, oh, would you read that? I think, nah. Well, that's like, yeah, I can see that. Okay, Dutton, final two, and we are going old school. Get your gold radio or heart or whatever nonsense they play on digital now. You ready? Let's do this. One of my favourites, this one, Dutton. All the way back to the 1960s here. Oops. This is going well. This is why I shouldn't be allowed to do the technology, right? Yeah. Obviously, the Brilliant Monkeys with Unbeliever. No one in their right mind who knows anything about the Monkeys knows that they didn't write that because A, it's a good song, and B, they didn't write any of their good songs. However, I didn't know it was written by Neil Diamond. The second most talented Neil D in the room. Exactly, Dutton. That's why I did it. We had to have one Ginger and one Neil D. Final one, Dutton. I think you'll get this one. This is a classic. That is obviously the magnificent Smokey Robinson, The Miracles with Tears of a Clown. Hate that song. You hate it? Yeah. You are wrong, sir. You are wrong. Right on my tits. Well, there's another reason why you can't hate it. Not only can you not hate it because it's a chow, you also can't hate it because it was written by the incomparable Stevie Wonder. He's a top man legend.
Another one that occurred to me, but I'm not going to play it, is the Jamelia song. Was it See It in a Boy's Eyes, written by Chris Martin?
So, whoa, Dutton's gone from it to a loose women singer with a former famous guy who called his daughter after a fruit. I hate Coldplay. Do you remember when Coldplay were good?
Yeah, Parachute.
Parachute, yeah. I actually listened to that about a week ago and thought, this is good. What happened to this?
You know, they turned down 50 songs for their album X and Y. That means, in their opinion, there were 50 songs that were worse than the crap they put out on X and Y. I'm so glad I didn't listen to that.
That's not for me, Dutton. It's not for you. That's garbage. They are the 2000 version of U2. And I said it. You have
more than that.
Pardon?
More annoying than that.
More annoying than that. It would probably more annoying, but they do the same thing. Every few years they bring out a beige album and sells 8 billion records, and I don't know why.
As long as it doesn't get downloaded onto my phone, where we can still be friends.
Yeah, true. So Dutton, that's all the show. We hope everyone enjoys the message at the start. We talked about Weird World. We talked about people stealing signs. The NFL. Why Dutton's still trying to talk himself into having 3 quarterbacks on his roster. Why I'm praying to anyone who'll listen to me that Dan Snyder is not back in charge of personnel for the Washington semi-professional football team. And we play a music round, Dutton, because, technology rolls like that. I just hope it sounds good, otherwise we're in serious bother.
I mean, obviously the good residents of that town in New York, they didn't think that the fella had a problem, but the signs were there.
This has been Wax and Lyrical. Get used to it.